Now, on a 1,700-mile bicycle ride, you have a lot of time to think. It was about 24 days, averaged, I think, 74 or so miles per day. And you have a lot of time to think. And I do a lot with leadership, culture, and strategy. I help people build their businesses. And so I thought, I bet I can develop some thought leadership from this. And so I'm going to share some of those insights with you. Now, the video was right. When I first began contemplating this, it was about 18 months before I was going to begin. I was going to begin in Spalding, Nebraska, 15 years to the day when Chris Pfeiffer died of wounds. So I backward planned about 18 months and said, okay, if I'm going to do this, I actually need to get a bicycle and I need to start training. And so I bought a fancy road bike, a Trek road bike, and a Trek Del Monte SL7. And I was like, if I can go 25 miles without feeling like it kills me, then I think I can do this. So that was my little personal gauge, and I did it. And so then I was like, all right, I'm hiring a cycling coach to really get my butt in shape, and then I'm gonna still people so I don't chicken out, so all that social pressure. And so I hired a guy named Chuck Kyle, an awesome cycling coach. And I asked Chuck, I had my first conversation with Chuck, and Chuck says, well, tell me how you feel. I said, yeah, I feel good. I can go 25 miles. He says, how does it feel when you cycle? And I said, well, my neck hurts, and my back hurts, my shoulders hurt, my knees hurt, and my butt kind of hurts. But other than that, I'm good. And he says, have you gotten a bike fit? I said, well, yeah, I adjusted the seat, so my toes touch the floor. I'm good. And he said, no. Have you gotten a professional bike fit? Is that a thing? He said, yes, it's a thing. Every bike should be custom fit to the rider because everybody's body is different. And what they can do is not only can they raise and lower the seat, but they can move the seat forward and back. They can tilt the seat. They can raise the handlebars. They can lower the handlebars. They can do all sorts of things to make sure it's custom fit for your body. And yeah, if you're sitting down, just kind of rock back and forth on your seat a little bit. Yeah, rock back and forth. What you're feeling there are your sit bones. Now, most people's sit bones are 143 millimeters apart. My sit bones are 145 millimeters apart. So that meant, instead of my sit bones being here, my sit bones are out here. And so the saddle is hitting the soft tissue right between the sit bones, and it was very painful. So knowing that when I got my bike fit, I had a 145 millimeter saddle, and all of the pain down there went away. So I think it's just like anything in business and in life, the right fit positions you to succeed. So when you look at how to determine right fit, you can use a double axis chart just like this. So on the north-south axis will be affinities. Affinities like natural talents. You know it's an affinity if you love it. So you love it. And then you have skills on the east-west axis. And it's a skill if you are good at it. And this gives you 4 different zones of being, if you will. If you are in the lower left, where you don't have a natural talent for it, you don't have the skill for it, so you hate it and you're terrible at it, then that's called the dropout zone. Because that's exactly what people do in that situation, is they drop out. Did you know that Beyonce was a high school dropout? I mean, some fabulously successful business leaders, political leaders, have been high school and college dropouts. I mean, you can name a whole bunch of them just off the top of your head. It wasn't a great fit for them, and so they got themselves out of a situation that was a bad fit. If you're in the lower right, where you're good at it, but you hate it, you can do the job very well. Some of your employees are in this situation where they're doing the job very well, they're very skilled at it, but they hate it. And what happens is they burn in more energy than they ought to be. And this is called your burnout zone. And this is what happens when one of your top employees comes up to you and says, hey boss, here's my 2-week notice. I am smoked, I am exhausted, I need a break. This is what happens when we are in a situation that's just not, it doesn't meet our natural talents. So even though we're really good at it, we're burning more energy, eventually we're gonna flame out. Now in the upper left is very interesting, is when you love it, but you're not quite good at it yet. So this you can call the cultivate zone. And the key is to develop the skills to exploit your natural talents. Steve Jobs is a great example of this. In the 1980s, he founds Apple, and he's got this vision where he's going to change the world through information technology. And he's got all sorts of folks excited, he's got all sorts of investment, but his people skills, Jobs was so toxic that he's just driving people right out the door. And eventually it got so bad that the board, whom he handpicked from the company he founded, fires him. Jobs went on to found a couple of different companies, but he learned his lesson. He was never going to be an awesome people person, you know, a Bill Clinton-like people person, but he learned enough so he wasn't radioactive, so he could inspire people to contribute their best. And in so doing, he moved to the upper right, which is your zone of genius. And imagine the impact, both for you personally, for you solo entrepreneurs, and for you business leaders on your business, if you and all of your employees are in their zones of genius.